He emerged from the tall grass just as the sun hit its peak. A massive male, his mane dark and thick, scarred across both shoulders from a fight that had nearly taken his life 3 seasons ago. But that scar wasn't what made him legendary across the Serengeti. It was what came after. A trail of destruction that would transform him from a protective father into something the guides whispered about in hushed tones around the campfire. They called it a vendetta. Some called it madness. But the lions knew it for what it really was: pure, calculated revenge. This story begins not with the father, but with the family he built. In the shadow of the volcanic plains near Tanzania's greatest wildlife reserve, 3 cubs were born. 2 males, 1 female. Their mother was fierce, scarred herself from years of territorial battles. Their father had fought his way to dominance, the hard way, through blood and patience, the same way every great male lion earns his place. His name was Kali, a word meaning power in the language of the local guides, and power was the one thing he had always possessed. Kali and his family occupied roughly 8 square kilometers of prime territory. Acacia trees, water holes that never fully dried, herds of wildebeest that migrated through his land twice a year. On paper, it looked like everything a lion needed. On the ground, it was a constant battle. Territory in the Serengeti isn't given. It's defended every single day against every threat that moves, and Kali had learned to defend it the way only the strongest males can, without mercy, without hesitation, without ever showing weakness. The cubs were 5 months old when their world changed. Old enough to follow their mother on short hunts, but not old enough to fight back against anything that wanted to kill them. In the lion world, there's a window of vulnerability for young cubs. Too old to stay hidden in dens, too young to run or defend themselves. It's during this window that most don't survive. The guides who tracked this pride knew it. The other predators in the territory knew it. But Kali's mate, the mother of these cubs, believed she could protect them. She believed wrong. It happened during a morning hunt. The mother had taken the cubs to a waterhole on the eastern edge of their territory, a place that usually stayed quiet, where the herds came to drink, and the grass grew thick enough to conceal a hunting lioness. But on this morning, she didn't see what was waiting in the shadows beyond the tree line. A clan of hyenas, 23 of them by the rangers' count, not the scattered groups that usually avoided full-grown lions, but an organized hunting party. They had smelled something that morning that made them bold. Maybe it was the scent of milk on the wind. Maybe it was the sound of inexperienced cubs. Whatever it was, the clan had decided that today was the day they would test their luck. The mother sensed the danger maybe 2 seconds too late. A hyena charged from her left, forcing her to turn away from the cubs. Another came from behind. Then another. The clan didn't attack the cubs directly at first. They were smarter than that. They isolated the mother, separated her from her young, cut off her ability to reach them. It was a coordinated assault, while the larger hyenas engaged the lioness, snapping at her legs, forcing her to spin in circles. 5 smaller members of the clan moved toward the cubs with terrible purpose. The cubs scattered. The female went left toward the acacia trees. 1 male bolted toward open ground. The smallest male, the runt of the litter, froze. He had always been the cautious one, the one who hesitated when his siblings charged forward. That hesitation cost him everything. One of the larger hyenas caught him almost immediately. His cries carried across the grassland for maybe 30 seconds before going silent. Then the second male fell. He fought harder than his brother, snapping at the jaws that came for him. But the mathematics of predator and prey don't change, no matter how hard you struggle. 2 cubs, gone in less than a minute. The female made it to the acacia tree and climbed higher than hyenas could follow. She cried out from the branches, watching her mother fight in the grass below, watching her brothers disappear. The mother broke through the hyena line eventually, not by being stronger, but by being desperate. There's a moment in every animal when the will to survive overwhelms everything else. She reached that moment, powered through the snapping jaws, and ran toward her daughter's cries. The hyenas chased for a while, but an adult lioness moving at full speed with nothing left to lose is not a prize worth chasing. The clan fell back, satisfied with their kill. They had 2 cubs to feed on. That was enough. The mother reached her surviving daughter as the sun started its descent. The female had come down from the tree, trembling, crying in that high-pitched way that only terrified cubs cry. The mother pressed her body against her young, checking her for injuries. smelling the blood of her brothers on the wind. And somewhere in the grass beyond their territory, Kali was hunting. He had no idea his world had just changed forever. He found out when his mate returned to their resting place that evening. The female was different. Her eyes had changed. The confident hunter, the protective mother, had been replaced by something else. Something broken. She didn't have to tell him what had happened. He smelled it immediately. The scent of unfamiliar hyenas, the blood of his cubs, the terror that had soaked into her body. Rangers who were tracking Kali from a distance reported that he didn't roar. He didn't rage. He simply stood for almost an hour, his body completely still, and stared in the direction the hyenas had gone. What happened over the next 21 days would become the most documented hunting pursuit in Serengeti history. Park rangers, wildlife researchers, and amateur naturalists all tracked Kali's movements. What they witnessed was not normal lion behavior. This wasn't territory defense. This wasn't hunting for food. This was something else entirely. Something that had no name in the scientific literature, but which every person who watched it understood instantly. This was a father hunting the predators who had killed his sons. The hyena clan that had made the kill belonged to a larger group that operated across roughly 6 square kilometers of savanna. Their territory overlapped with Kali's in certain areas, particularly around the waterholes where prey was most concentrated. In a normal situation, hyenas and lions maintain a tense coexistence. They avoid each other, they compete for kills. Sometimes one of them dies, but they don't hunt each other. Not like this. Not with the kind of single-minded purpose Kali was about to display. He started the next morning. Rangers spotted him at the eastern edge of his territory, moving slowly, deliberately, his nose to the ground. He was following the hyena clan's scent trail from the previous day, moving backward through time to find where they had come from. Some trails led to dead ends, terminating where the clan had split up to search for prey. But one trail was strong, moving deeper into the savanna, toward the area where they denned. Hyenas have multiple dens. They can have 5, 6, sometimes more scattered across their territory. It's a survival strategy. If humans or lions find one den, the clan still has others, but they have a primary den, a place where the mother stays with the very youngest cubs, where the clan returns most often. Finding that den would be the key to what Kali was planning. By afternoon of day 2, Kali had located it. Rangers documented him sitting about 200 meters away from the entrance, downwind, watching. The hyenas were moving in and out, as they normally did. Some leaving to hunt, others returning from previous kills. He didn't attack immediately. He couldn't. A single lion against a full clan would be suicide. But Kali wasn't planning to fight them as a group. He was planning to kill them alone, one at a time, just like they had killed his cubs one at a time. On the evening of day 3, a young male hyena separated from the clan. Not the oldest, not the strongest, but young and strong enough to be dangerous. The hyena was moving away from the den, drawn by the scent of a wildebeest kill maybe a kilometer away. Kali tracked him silently. When the moment came, when the hyena was far enough from his clan that no one could hear him die, Kali moved. The kill was swift. Rangers found the hyena the next morning, already cooling in the early heat. Kali hadn't eaten him. He had killed him, proved his point with the body, and left. This wasn't about food. It was about something else. Every guide in the reserve understood the message. My cubs are dead. Now one of yours is too. Days 4 and 5 saw the pattern repeat. Another young male, this one slightly larger than the first, separated to hunt. Kali was waiting. Then a female hyena, younger, not yet fully grown, made the mistake of wandering too far from the group. She became the third. The hyena clan started to understand something was wrong. Rangers observed increased vocalization, more members staying close to the den, fewer lone hunts. But hyenas are not like lions. They're not built to live in constant fear. They need to hunt. They need to eat. And so they took risks. By day 7, Kali had killed 5 members of the clan. Not the leaders, not the mother who had orchestrated the attack on his cubs. He was saving those kills. He was working his way through the younger, more vulnerable members first, thinning the numbers, weakening the structure. It was a strategy that showed an understanding of social hierarchy that shocked the researchers watching. Kali wasn't just killing. He was dismantling the clan from the inside. On day 8, something changed. The clan leadership had observed Kali. They knew what was happening. One of the older males, scarred and missing part of his ear, emerged from the den and confronted Kali directly. It was a brave move, maybe even a stupid one. The two predators faced each other about 100 meters from the den entrance. The hyena was smaller, lighter, built for endurance rather than power. Kali was built for exactly one thing, killing things larger and more dangerous than this. The fight lasted maybe 2 minutes. Kali gave the hyena a chance to run, and the hyena took it, fleeing back toward the den with the lion in pursuit. But Kali didn't follow him all the way. Instead, he stopped at the boundary, roared once and withdrew. The message was clear: you're all next, but not today. Something shifted in the clan after that encounter. The older members, the leaders, started to move the clan. They relocated their primary den to a location further north, nearly 2 kilometers away from where Kali had been hunting. For a few days, it looked like Kali's vendetta might end. The hyenas had separated themselves enough that catching individual members became nearly impossible. But Kali didn't stop. On day 12, guides spotted him moving north, crossing into new territory, following the clan's new den site. He was willing to leave his own territory undefended, willing to walk into areas where other lions might challenge him, all to continue his hunt. This was no longer about protecting his land. This was about something primal, something that transcended survival and moved into the territory of pure vengeance. The clan tried everything. They tried staying together, moving only in groups of 5 or more. But even then, Kali would wait for one member to break formation, to get separated from the group, and he would strike. He killed a mother hyena on day 14, then her nearly grown cub on day 16. He was systematic, precise, without mercy. The clan was being cut in half. On day 18, the clan made a desperate decision. They would fight back, not as individuals, but as a unified force. Ragnars observed a planned confrontation. The entire remaining clan, now down to roughly 12 members from the original 23, emerged from their den and moved toward Kali in an organized formation. He was resting about 100 meters away when they came for him. What happened next was documented by park rangers and would be discussed in wildlife circles for years. Kali stood as the clan approached. He didn't run. He didn't show fear. He simply positioned himself on a slight rise in the ground where the terrain would work to his advantage. When the first hyena charged, he met it head-on. His mane, which would normally be a liability in such close combat, actually worked as armor. The hyena's jaws slid off the thick hair and bone of his neck. Kali's response was swift. One swipe with his paw opened the hyena's side. The animal yelped and fell back, but there were more. The second and third came at his rear legs, trying to hamstring him the way a coordinated pack of hyenas should. Kali spun, faster than anything that size should move, and caught the second hyena with a strike that sent it rolling. The third came in lower, trying to bite at his ankles. Kali leaped, twisted in midair, and came down on the hyena's back, breaking its spine with his landing weight. The clan fought hard. Hyenas are tough, desperate, willing to fight to the death. But they weren't built for this kind of combat against an animal as powerful and coordinated as Kali. Within 5 minutes, the organized assault had fallen apart. The hyenas broke formation and scattered, leaving behind 3 members who were either dead or dying. Kali stood in the center of that small battlefield, breathing hard, bleeding from multiple bite wounds, and roared. That roar carried across the savannah like a statement. It said everything that needed to be said. I will keep coming. You cannot hide from me. You cannot outlast me. The remaining hyenas did the only thing they could do. They fled, not to another den, but completely away from the area. Rangers tracked the clan over the following days and discovered they had moved nearly 5 kilometers away, into territory so marginal and difficult that survival there would be nearly impossible. The clan was effectively broken, not destroyed entirely, but functionally fragmented, scattered, reduced to a fraction of their former size. Kali didn't immediately stop hunting. On day 20, he killed another member who hadn't fled far enough. But this kill was different. This time he stopped afterward and ate. His hunger, which had been secondary to his rage for so long, had finally reasserted itself. On day 21, rangers found him resting near a waterhole about 8 kilometers from where his cubs had been killed. He was a different lion than the one who had begun this pursuit, thinner, more scarred, with his mane matted with blood and dirt. But there was something else there too, a sense of finality. His cubs were dead. 5 members of the clan that killed them were dead. The clan itself was destroyed. scattered beyond any chance of reorganization. Justice, in the savage mathematics of the lion world, had been served. What happened after is less dramatic, but perhaps more important. Kali returned to his territory over the course of several days. His mate was still there with their surviving daughter, who was now old enough to begin learning the skills she would need to survive. The family reformed, slowly, carefully. Rangers observed them moving together again, hunting together, the mother teaching the young female what a lioness needs to know. Kali fathered more cubs over the following years. Some survived, some didn't. This is the nature of the lion world. Life is fragile. Death comes from every direction. But something had changed in how he protected his family. Rangers who tracked him noted that he never wandered far from his mate and offspring. He patrolled more frequently. He responded to threats with even greater intensity than before. It was as if his hunt for vengeance had reset something fundamental in how he understood his responsibility as a father. The hyena clan that attacked his cubs never fully recovered. The scattered members eventually formed smaller groups, but the organization, the hunting efficiency, the coordinated tactics that had made them such a successful predator were gone. Some researchers argue that Kali's 21-day vendetta essentially eliminated a significant predatory force in that ecosystem. The wildebeest and zebra populations in that region did noticeably better over the following season because hyena numbers had dropped so dramatically. But here's what's really remarkable about this story, and what researchers have debated ever since it happened. Did Kali actually hunt for revenge, or was he simply protecting his territory and eliminating competition? The scientific explanation says it was the latter. Hyenas and lions compete for the same prey. Reducing the hyena population benefits the lion. It's efficient, it's logical, it's evolution, doing what evolution does. But every ranger who watched those 21 days unfold said something different. They said they witnessed something that looked an awful lot like grief transforming into purpose. A father who lost his sons and decided that if he couldn't save them, he would at least make sure the predators responsible would never kill another cub the same way. And maybe both things are true. Maybe revenge and survival aren't opposites in the animal world. Maybe they're the same thing viewed from different angles. A lion protecting his family, ensuring his genetics continue into the next generation, expanding his territory, reducing competing predators. That's survival. But when that lion is doing it while carrying the death of his children, when he's doing it with a single-minded focus that defies logic and hunger and fear, when he's doing it because those particular cubs, his cubs, are gone, that's revenge too. Kali lived another 6 years after his vendetta. He fathered 17 more cubs, of which roughly 10 survived to adulthood. He was killed finally by a coalition of younger males moving through the area. A rematch he didn't win because he was older, slower, no longer the dominant force he had been. He died the way lions typically die, in combat against predators stronger and faster than he had become. But in those 6 additional years, he passed something forward, a genetic legacy of resilience, of protective aggression, of the kind of fierceness that sometimes needs to border on vengeance to keep the next generation alive. The surviving daughter from the original litter became a formidable huntress. She produced her own cubs, several of whom survived. She passed forward not just genes but behaviors. Rangers documented her children displaying unusual hunting patterns, almost mimicking strategies their grandfather had used. Whether this was genetic or learned behavior, no one could say for certain. But there seemed to be something passed down through that bloodline, a refusal to accept loss without response, a determination to protect what was theirs with absolutely everything they had. This is where the story could end. A father hunts his children's killers for 21 days. Justice is served. Life continues. But there's one more detail that the researchers found remarkable, something that happened in the years after the hyena clan scattered. Years later, another group of hyenas began to move back into that territory. Evolution works fast in the savannah. Populations recover, but something remarkable happened. These new hyenas seemed to avoid the area where Kali's territory overlapped with theirs. They would approach the boundary and then retreat, as if they somehow knew the danger that existed there. Researchers called it ancestral memory, though technically that's not how animal behavior works. But the fact remained. Decades after Kali had killed their clan members, new generations of hyenas seemed to understand that this was not safe land for them. Perhaps it was just the scent markers lions leave behind, the accumulated odor of a dominant predator marking his territory. Perhaps it was something more. Perhaps there's something in nature that transcends simple biology, something about sacrifice and vengeance, and the refusal to be victimized that echoes forward through time in ways we don't fully understand. What we know for certain is that Kali hunted for 21 days. He killed 7 members of the clan that destroyed his family. He reduced their numbers by more than half, and he walked away knowing he had done everything a father could do to make the predators responsible, understand the price of what they had taken from him. The question that remains is this: was Kali a monster for his relentless pursuit of animals that were, in some sense, simply acting out their nature, or was he something else entirely, a father protecting his bloodline, a dominant predator securing his territory, or perhaps something humanity recognizes in ourselves, the need to respond when something precious is taken from us, the drive to make sure the creatures responsible never forget what they've done? Tell me what you think in the comments. Would you do the same if you were in his position? And if you're moved by stories of fierce animals doing impossible things, of life and death in the wild, of families torn apart and fathers rising to meet that devastation, subscribe, because there are more stories coming. Stories of animals that refuse to be defeated, that fight impossible odds, that transform grief into purpose. Stories that remind us why we're so fascinated by the wild and what it teaches us about survival, about loyalty, about the ferocity that love demands.